All right, we're going to walk through things you need to remember about your Tello, right? First, starting with charging it. We've done this before, but make sure that you plug in the USB-C, I'm sorry, micro USB there. Then you plug it into some source. If it is not blinking blue, you have a problem, right? Blue is charging, red is not. So just keep that in mind before you fly. Remember, always check your propellers, push to make sure they're on tight. You do want to keep your propeller guards on, especially if you're flying indoors. And check your battery. Make sure that it doesn't smell. It's not hot. It's not puffy. And that it's inserted correctly. All right. Now, to turn your drone on, you're going to press this button here on the side and hold it until you see the light. When it's flashing, no, mine's not flashing. Now it is. When it's flashing, that means it's emitting your Wi-Fi network. So set it down. I'm going to assume that you guys all have the apps. Remember, it's a Tello app and the Tello EDU app. First thing I'm going to do is go into the settings on my phone, and I'm going to go into the Wi-Fi settings on my phone. It's different for everyone. And then I'm going to look for a Tello network. I see it down there. Okay, I click on the Tello, and when I wait for it to get that check mark that says that I'm on there. Your phone may look a little bit different. Then I can go ahead and open up the Tello app. All right, I'm going to start with the general Tello app, and I should see on my phone the video. Now, ambient weak is too light, fly with caution. That means the sensors aren't going to work quite as well. Looking at the app, going across the top, we have the takeoff button, right? If we click that, we slide to takeoff, cancel. We have the flight modes. Bounce mode, don't worry about bounce mode. That's kind of goofy. It just goes up and down. Circle, it is a nice thing. We will definitely work with circle. Up and away, again, another really nice shot. 3D flips, not really in terms of photography useful, but fun. Throw and go, you can get your Tello started and then toss it into the air. I don't recommend it. It does kind of work, but it's not flawless, and you can end up damaging the Tello. And then 360, it will spin in a circle and take a video of the things around it. Okay, moving across the top, we see battery. You can see how much battery life your Tello has. That's good to know. Then we have Wi-Fi. You can tell if the Wi-Fi is working. Bluetooth. Now, we do have Bluetooth controllers for these. So if you want something that's a little bit more of a traditional feel rather than the sticks on the screen here, that will work. The next thing we see, HS, feet per second. That's how fast it's going. And then an H, height, how high it is off the ground. The play button is to play videos and take a look at pictures. This next button switches between camera and video mode, right? And then that button there is your shutter button to take a picture. Let's do that. Okay. Let's take a look at the sticks here. Remember, your throttle is on the left, so up and down will raise your drone, spinning the propellers faster or slower. Then we have the yaw, again, still left stick. To the left will spin the drone to the left, to the right will spin the drone to the right. The stick on your right is your forward and back, your left and your right. That's kind of how you move the drone around. All right, so now let's get this in the air. I'm going to record some video because, hey, why not? All right, so I'm going to clear some space so that I have room to take off. Right, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this mat here and use it as a takeoff and landing spot. See if I can take off and land on that same spot. It's good for practice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click the takeoff, slide to take off. All right, you can see the drone has taken off. I'm going to move it forward so that I can kind of talk a little bit about what I expect you to try and do. Now, let's video this thing. You know, just getting it to hover not so much a challenge with this drone because it does have some of those really nice sensors, but I want you to kind of a feel about how quickly it moves back and forth. So don't move it fast. Notice that when I let go of the sticks, it does still drift a little bit. I'm going to move it a little closer to me, right, and do kind of the same thing. Just kind of back and forth. Ooh, back. Right, so even when I let go of the sticks, it does still move up, and down. Notice it does tend to yaw a little bit. It's kind of hard to go just purely up or down. I'm going to spin the drone around. It's easiest, I find, to start by having the drone face away from you and then to just kind of move back and forward just to kind of get used to how it maneuvers, right, before you start worrying about the yaw. So notice I'm not using that left stick really at all because it is a challenge to kind of learn how to coordinate both of those movements. Now I'm going to fly it away. I'm going to rotate it and bring it back to me. Now this is the hardest part about flying a drone is when it's coming back at you, and still being able to maintain where you want it to go, right? Kind of doing almost like some figure eights here. All right, now I'm going to stop it and bring it back towards me. Okay, and I'm going to land it. I'm going to try and land it on that landing pad. And to land, I do hit that land button, tap to land, and it's landed. Not bad, right? We got it right on the landing pad. Let's stop that recording. And let's take a look at the settings, right? A couple of things. Flight speed slow. I was in slow mode. You definitely want that. Fast will just allow it to pitch forward a little bit more. VR, right? If you have goggles, any VR headset will kind of work. You can kind of stick this in those goggles, but it's kind of hard to fly since you need the screens. Wi-Fi, you can set a Wi-Fi password. Don't mess with that, and more. All right, so a couple of different things to look at here. Beginner guide. If you want to read more, you can do that here. It'll kind of give you a walkthrough of what some of these different things do, some of the settings, just things to kind of keep in mind, right? We kind of already walked through a lot of these different settings. Okay. How to take the propeller guards off and on if you want to do that. I suggest you leave them on unless you're flying outdoors. The reason you would want to take them off, you'll get better flight time, and especially if you're flying outdoors, they tend to hook trees and things like that. All right, measurement system, imperial and metric. We're going to stick with imperial, but you can really choose that on your own. Photo quality, high versus normal, depending on how much storage your phone has. Normal will take up less space, still look pretty decent. Low battery warning on 20%. That seems about right. I would not mess with that. Stick mode. Mode 2 is how most people fly. If you switch to mode 1, that'll put the throttle on the right side. I do not suggest you do that. EV is your exposure value, right? So if you find, it's really dark in your room and you want to bump up the exposure value so that you can see a little bit better or take better pictures, you can do that. And then altitude, that is your maximum altitude. Right now it is set to 33 feet. The highest you can fly this thing is 100 feet. I do not suggest you go very high because if you're flying outside, the higher you get, the windier it gets, it seems, and the wind will take your Tello. Bit rate has to do with the quality of the video. I would just leave that at auto and not necessarily worry about that. Now the dots here, If you are having problems with your Tello, these are some things you're going to want to take a look at, right? The IMU status. IMU is basically sensors inside your drone. If you're having issues, calibrate it. It will often tell you if you need to calibrate. Center of gravity calibration. You can also, if it just doesn't seem to be performing quite well, and it may actually tell you to calibrate. You can do that. Firmware version. If there is a new firmware and you can update it, I highly select that you do. It looks like I can, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I suggest that you all check to make sure that you don't have to do that either. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do here is update my firmware. I'm going to click start. You will likely need to have um, a Wi-Fi connection. So update, please connect the aircraft. Looks like I did lose connection. So I'm going to have to connect the Tello. You can see my screen here is blank. So I'm going to have to connect the Tello in order to continue that firmware update. So it'll download to my phone, and then it'll download to the Tello. And a lot of times that helps to make it a little bit more stable. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. If you have questions, please shoot me an email, reach out, let me know, and we want to make sure that you can fly your Tello, record with your Tello, have fun with your Tello, and ultimately we want you to be able to use the Tello as a tool to help learn how to fly and take pictures and video. If you find it difficult to fly with the on-screen sticks, we do have Bluetooth remotes that we can use that will kind of help kind of with the stick feel. Now, it's not perfect, right? It's not quite as precise as a typical radio controller because this has to communicate with your phone, which then communicates with the drone, right? So this is not sending an RF signal directly to the Tello, which would be nice, but kind of that intermediary. So if you're looking for one of these, see Mrs. Hank or talk to me. All right, guys, good luck and happy flying.